Hi everyone, it's Thursday night, 9 o'clock. It's time for the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters. This is our first show of 2020. We do, of course, have some excellent rugby coming up over the next few weeks. We've got Six Nations starting, Super Rugby, and there's the Champions Cup taking place this weekend. So just to give you a quick rundown of what we're going to do on the show tonight, we're going to be talking Super Rugby outright bettings. We've got a couple of guests to do that. And then we're going to probably touch on Sunday's games as well. And then we've got two new guests joining us as well. We'll introduce them later in the show. We're going to be talking Champions Cup Rugby. It's the final week of group stages. It's always a very interesting week from a betting perspective because there's dead rubbers, there's teams that need bonus points, there's teams that have to wait and see how the matches go. So it's a very complicated weekend, and betting often moves quite a bit. But let's introduce the panel first, and I'm going to start off down in what has been a very warm Cape Town, but he's still got a fire burning in the background. It's Hanrick, Swart. Hanrick, good to have you on, and I know for a fact that fire's for a braai and not to keep you warm.
Yeah, no, it's been very hot here, Brent. Luckily I was at the coast for the holidays, and that was a bit more pleasant. But this last week has been scorching down in Cape Town. Sorry for the braai. The wood is very dry. Everything's dry and hot over here. So yeah, no, just told you pre-show my wife's in Cape Town, so that's the only way I can cook is on the fire. But yeah, I just put on a shirt just befter the show after work.
Well,
I took off
I think I speak on behalf of everyone. Thanks for that, Hanrick.
Yeah, no, if it wasn't for the show, I would not have a shirt on. It's very hot down here.
Excellent. Well, we'll assume that you're wearing all your clothes then, okay? And let's go to the conductor now who joins us from Pretoria. Hey, conductor, good to have you back on the show. How was your festive season?
How's it, Brent? Yeah, no, very lekker. I stayed in Pretoria most of the time, but very lekker up here in PTA. It was also a bit hot, but a couple of beers pounded away every day. So that's why I'm sticking to the Earl Grey tonight and not 10 Heinekens as I traditionally do. So trying to get right for the first couple of weeks. But no, thanks, Brent. Yeah, very lekker December. The rugby's been a bit tough. Euro rugby is sort of the cards are over, but it's a poor man's substitute for Super Rugby. So chomping at the bits to get ready for some Super Rugby.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, it is. I guess we always say we do prefer the Super Rugby over the Northern Hemisphere, but a lot of Super Rugby names, Brendon, they're playing in the North now. You certainly recognise a few of them each weekend, and I know a lot of guys track their progress on that on Twitter as well. There's so many South Africans, but for that matter, New Zealanders and even Aussies playing over there.
Yeah, Brent. I think what really struck me was when it's difficult to see from week to week. You obviously go through the team sheets like a Leicester, then you'll see like a guy like Lebanini and Jordan Tafua will pop up in their team sheets, and you go through the top 14, Pro 14, and the English Premiership, and you see obviously there's a couple of guys, but it only really strikes you when you go through that Planet Rugby ins and outs of the squads. I think the New Zealanders have lost a lot of guys. The Bulls have been the Bulls have actually had all their locks depleted. So as much as I'm looking forward to Super Rugby, I think it's going to be very interesting with a lot of new names in the squads, and a lot of sort of lower league guys have had to be promoted because they've just lost so much quality through all the transitions to Northern Hemisphere.
So it certainly means it could be some betting value. We're going to get stuck into that now. Just a welcome to all the boys in the live chat. We will bring up a few comments as we go along. And Shane's saying he celebrates his 41st birthday this Sunday, the twilight years. Let me tell you, Shane, I know you're probably older than the other two boys on the panel, but 41, I long to be 41 again. Let me tell you that right now. Got the body of a 63-year-old. Anyway, have a happy birthday then. But let's get stuck straight into the betting now. And Hanrick, let's start with the outright betting, and then we'll move on to the conferences. Having a look around, I'm just popping onto Sunbet now, having a look at their odds. I've been on World Sports Betting. We had obviously GG Gaming. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'll scroll some odds. I'll scroll some GG Gaming odds at the bottom just to give people an indication. Obviously, prices vary. But we got the Crusaders fairly firm favourites, the Chiefs, the Hurricanes. I've seen on some books, in fact, New Zealand are the top four sides in the division. Have you done anything yet from an outright perspective? Gary, on the previous show, did allude to the fact that you fancy the Sharks a bit this year.
Yeah, Brent, I've got one bet down. I backed the Sharks to go all the way, which is dangerous and probably won't happen, but it was a bit of value. Gary had them at 100 to 1. I thought that was too big. So I backed them, and he was, well, the bet didn't go through, and I asked him about it, and he was happy to lay the 100 to 1. Probably not going to win, but I expect him to make the playoffs, so I'm happy to do that. And then I'm going to back the Chiefs. I don't see them shortening anymore, so I haven't placed my bet yet, but at 7-2, I think they're good value. The Crusaders were the favourites, and I, as you know from previous years, I've been a big fan of Razor Robertson at the Crusaders, and they've done well the past few years, winning 3 in a row. But I think with losing a few guys and Razor being not getting the All Black job, he might just lose a bit of interest and maybe look abroad. So I think there's value in taking on the Crusaders just a bit. I know it's dangerous, but I like Warren Gatland, and he's coming back to the Chiefs, and they've got Aaron Cruzen back, so he'll make a difference at 10. And Damien McKenzie was injured for a long period of time last year, and it seems like he'll be ready for the first game as well. Not like we chatted on WhatsApp today, and I'm not the biggest Sam Cane fan. He's been appointed captain, but I still think the Chiefs will go well. So on the outright, I'll tip the Chiefs to win it, and I think the Sharks offer some value.
Right. Well, just quickly wanted to touch on that because I was looking, there's been a lot of negative talk about New Zealand suddenly in the press. I mean, they went out of the semi-finals. I wouldn't say it was the biggest disaster the way people are making up, but I don't know if you remember, we did a show a while ago. We actually had a guy from New Zealand on as well, and it was titled, "Is New Zealand Rugby in Decline?" And I put that on YouTube a while ago, and if they have a bad season, I'll certainly be reposting that all over the place because I'd like to think we called it first, that maybe their rugby is going to struggle for a lot of reasons. Not that they'll ever be weak, but that they may not be the force of old. Hanrick, just before I move to Brendon on this one, I do want to ask you, just had a look at some of the betting. Winning nationality. Now, we've seen New Zealand dominates. I see like 2-9 New Zealand, 15-2 South Africa, Australia 10-1. The question is there any value in opposing New Zealand in an outright? Obviously, you're not going to take you wouldn't think you're going to take the 2-9 New Zealand in such a long-term bet. You may as well put your money in the bank. But is there any value there in saying, no, I think a South African side could win it and 15-2 is good value?
I think 15-2 is good value. South Africa inside, South Africa, they're on a high with winning the World Cup last year, and with New Zealand losing a lot of players after the World Cup. Well, South Africa lost a few as well, but the New Zealand, I think the Crusaders might be taken on this year. I really expect the Highlanders and the Hurricanes to struggle this year. I think but they might struggle to make the playoffs. I expect 3 teams from the South African Conference might make the playoffs, at least 2, and I think three teams might make the playoffs. So I think there's value, definitely value, and as you know, getting the value doesn't mean you'll get the bet, but I agree with you. There's definitely value in that price.
Right, let's go across to Brendon now. Brendon, outright betting interest in Super Rugby. I'm amazed. Do you have a job? Let me ask you that up front. Because the amount of time you spend studying European rugby, I'm amazed you've even had a chance to look at Super Rugby.
I have a job that gives me the freedom to have a quick glance at my phone, and in between I'll grab a quick 10 minutes here or there, but it's actually quite bad.
You mean in between looking at your phone, you'll grab a quick 10 minutes of actual work?
It's something like that. Have a quick meeting and just try and finish it off quickly so that I can get back to Planet Rugby and Twitter. No,
before you go, I've just got to tell you, I got a message from Hein Dumont, couch critic. He's been on 4 holidays in the last 2 months, and he messaged me later, said he was hoping to come on maybe on the show, but he's too busy at work. I mean, I don't buy that for a second, couch. Absolutely not for a second. But anyway, back to the rugby betting. Brendon, what do you make of the outright markets there? Any fancies at this stage? You got any money down?
Yeah, so Brent, I think I don't know when we started. I don't know when the outright odds came out. I think it was last year, sort of November, if I can remember correctly. And I think we put on the group. I took some Chiefs outright, and then I multiplied that with Leinster to win the Pro 14. Because if I'm gonna hang around for about 4, 5, 6 months, I want to at least have some good juice in the game. So I took some of that. I can't see it. I can't see Leinster losing unless they somehow, by some fluke, focus on the Champions Cup final, which I think they'll make. So I've got them to win Pro 14. together with the Chiefs. So I quite like that bet. And then I've also taken, reading through all the ins and outs, I've taken some Jaguares at 12-1 on Bet Exchange. I don't think that's a bad price considering they made the final last year. They really sort of, I saw their sort of scores the last sort of 6, 7, 8 rounds of last year. They really, really played good rugby. They had a disappointing World Cup. I don't know what to put that down to. Maybe they were just too tired. I mean, pretty much they played the entire Super Rugby. If they'd beaten France, they would have maybe made the quarters. A bit of a poor World Cup. But I like them. They've lost one or two good guys. They've lost Matera and Moyana, I think, to overseas. But they've retained a lot of good guys. And even in that World Cup, we saw a lot of superstars coming through, youngsters coming through. So with the Crusaders, I'm not impressed with the Crusaders pack. They've really got some really journeymen that come through. I agree with Hanrick. Scott Robertson is good. I did see today that he is being linked with overseas jobs. So I think that that probably could be where he's headed off to, so that he can get some overseas experience that he'll come back to coach the All Black. So that's my main fancy is Chiefs, and I really like Jaguares. I mean, they've got Montoya is Hein's favorite human being, together with Creevy as their starting hookers, and they've got some decent props and some really decent backline players.
Excellent, guys. Just to mention, we'll be running Super Brew competitions. We'll have the usual free to enter one, but we also have the 500 Rand entry one over at Super Rugby. So if you're not involved in that, look out for it on the Good for the Game website. I'll post the details over the weekend, and I'll also have the details on next week's show as well. I'll probably record a short video for that one as well. So that's then on the outright markets. Let's move to the conferences, Brendon. I'll stay with you. New Zealand Conference, Crusaders obviously firm favourites there. Gary Lenton on the GG Gaming Show basically says he makes this a 2-horse race, really, between the Crusaders and the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are around the 18-2 mark. Anything, have you taken that in, any multiples, anything on the New Zealand Conference?
Brent, to be quite honest with you, man, not yet. But if I think I'm still favouring the Chiefs there to take the New Zealand Conference. I agree with Han. I think the Highlanders will finish last there. I think the Blues should be better with Ewan McDonald having a bit more time there. I don't fancy the Hurricanes. So it's going to be between Chiefs and the Crusaders to me. I don't know what are the odds for the Chiefs conference toppers there. For
the Chiefs to win the conference. I'll tell you now, just popping onto WSB, the Chiefs are 26-10. That's quite a big price, the Chiefs.
I'll probably look at taking that. I agree with Hanrick. I like Gatland. Damien McKenzie will play at 15 is his preferred position. And I'll have Cruden at 10. I mean, he's experienced. And guys like Anton Leonard Brown, I mean, All Black, Sam Kane, All Black. There is one or two journeymen, but I think there's far more journeymen in a couple of other sides. If you look at a guy like Luke Romano for the Crusaders, geez, I think that has more Big Macs than Ronald McDonald. Yes, he's so overweight. Just even in Marta 10, I was so unimpressed with their performance. So if you look at the Crusaders in Marta 10, I know you shouldn't always say because it's different players, but geez, they weren't impressive at all.
Right. Well, there is the betting. I'm on WSB's website at the moment. 8-10, 26-10. That's a big price, the Chiefs. I hadn't shopped around, but I'm making that my bet so far. I think 26-10 is some serious value there. And then we got the Hurricanes 5-1, Highlanders 11, and the Blues 12. Hanrick, anything for you in the New Zealand Conference to date?
Brent, I didn't see WSB's prices. I just had a look at GG Gaming, and I liked 18-10 about the Chiefs. So 26-10 is a much bigger price. That's a great price. I like the Chiefs as well. I think the Chiefs will go really well, and like I said, outright, I tipped the Chiefs to win Super Rugby this year. So obviously, for 26-10 for the conference is a great price. I think the Hurricanes and the Islanders will struggle this year. My only concern with the Islanders is that Tony Brown is involved there, and I rate him very highly as a coach, and he'll go on to be a great coach. So that's a bit of a concern, but I think the Islanders have lost a lot of players, and with the Hurricanes losing their coach halfway through preseason to the All Blacks, and losing Bowden Barrett, and Oli Sevilla is injured, I think. So I see those two teams struggling. So it's between the Crusaders and the Chiefs for me, and I think the Chiefs will take it, and I see the Blues pipping the Hurricanes and the Islanders in the conference as well. So it would have been actually great to get some season match bets on the Blues against the Hurricanes and the Islanders, but yeah, Gary didn't price up those.
Well, we can ask him. We can always ask him to price up on that one. Let's stay with you then for the Australian conference, Hanrick. I know the bookies do vary in their betting, but I'll stay with WSB. Rebels 15-10, Brumbies 16s, Waratah 17-4. What you got 5-1 the Reds and 67-1 the Sunwolves. Yeah, everyone expecting them to have a bad season. Anything on the Aussie conference for you?
Yeah, I like the Rebels strong in the Aussie conference. I rate Dave Wessels highly as a coach, and the Rebels squad looks pretty good. I think it's between the Rebels and the Brumbies. Brumbies always there and thereabouts. I expect the Waratahs to really struggle this year. I don't know much about their coach. They've got a new coach, but they lost a few of the Aussie stars. But yeah, I think the Reds might. They've got a young team. They don't look too bad, but I think the Rebels will take it. And I think at the 15-10 at WSB, that looks like a very good price on the Rebels. I think they'll win the Australian conference.
Yeah, I like your confidence there, Hanrick. Let's move to you, conductor. Aussie conference.
Yeah, Brent, I think I basically echo what Hanrick has said there. I just need to have a look at that Brumbies pack. I don't know who they've lost. I know they've lost. I think that they might have. No, I don't think they've lost Kurandrani. I'm just trying to think now, but I'll have to have a look and see who they've lost. But I also fancy the Rebels at that price. They've got a good backline with Reece Hodge, Cora Petty, Dane Haylett-Petty. They've got a good, they're a good couple of Wallabies in that backline. The only one that really worries me is that news come off Tuttle and Lomani. Lomani's a bit of a disaster from Fiji, but they've got a good forward pack. If the Brumbies don't click, all the Brumbies really did last year was that rolling maul. So if they don't click with that this year, then I think the Rebels should take it fairly easily. I don't see our Reds have lost their main center, that big Fijian guy. He's left to Japan. Karevi, yeah, and he was literally Captain Courageous. He was everything to them. So I don't see him doing anything. I think it's as Hanrick says, it's a two-horse race between the Brumbies and the Rebels, and I don't mind a 15-10 in a two-horse race.
We'll stay with you then, conductor. Let's look at the South African conference. Hagiar is 21-20. Stormers just shy of 3-1. You've got 19-4 the Lions, 15-2 the Sharks. We know someone's money has been on them with various bookmakers around the country. And the Bulls 8-1. What do you reckon of the South African conference?
No, I'm going to stick. I'm not going to oppose my Jaguares bet. I'm going to stick with them. I know Hanrick's quite keen on the Sharks. I actually think the Stormers have got a better squad this year. The only problem I have with the Sharks, I've got a good backline with my Pimpian and Corsi, Estes and but I don't like Fassi at fullback. He's super quick, but at this level, I'm not sure if I trust him as yet. I don't like Cohen Bosch. Watching him for the Barbarians, he's just no defense there. And we've just lost too many flanks, in my opinion, with too little quality replacing them. It's difficult to replace guys like Vermeulen and the Dupree brothers. I think we've got Henko Penta. I think from the Cheetahs, we've got a couple of guys. I'm not massively keen. We've got some good props, but no. To answer your question, my first and only really bet is the Jaguares.
Right, and Hanrick, let's go to you to wrap up the South African conference.
Yeah, Brent, the Jaguares at even money, basically even money, it's a bit short for me to back them for over a season. They were the favourites. They did really well last year. But I like the Sharks. I think the Sharks offer great value. I got some 10-1. I'll still take the 9-1 or 8-1 that's currently available. I think, I like Brent Jansen for Rensburg, and I think you'll make a big difference there. Not too sure about Sean Everett, but yeah, Brent will make a difference. And I'm not the biggest Cohen Bosch fan either, but I think they've got a solid pack and they've got a good backline. The rest of the conference, the Stormers, I think the Stormers, they're going to struggle at fly-off, and in the centres, I'm not a Jean-Luc du Plessis or a Damien Willemse fan. I can't see them dictating the game, and having lost Damien Dalenda, I think they'll struggle in the centres as well. Bulls, they got Josh Strauss and Morne Stein back, but I'm not a Peter Heeman fan. And then the Lions, their squad actually looks quite all right. I was a bit surprised how good the Lions squad looks, but I don't know anything about their coach yet. So I think the value lies in the Sharks. So I've gone for the Sharks here.
Right, and Hanrick, any other long-term bets? I know like GG Gaming have priced up on some match bets. You got involved in any there?
Yes, I've got 3 that I like there, and I've got 1 bet to qualify for the playoffs and 2 bets not to qualify for the playoffs. So on the season lock points, I've gone for the Rebels over the Brumbies. Brent, can I quickly come back? One of my children needs my attention.
Yeah, sure. No, 100%. You go for it. We'll get Brendan's comments on this. Henrik's wife's up in Joburg, so he has to go look after the kids. I mean, that's responsible parenting. Having a Brian being on a show while you've got kids there. Just a welcome to Couch Critic. Couch, want you to watch the early part of the show. If you missed it, we had some comments about your work ethic there, but we'll leave it at that for now. Brendon, what do you think then about the South African convo? You given me your comments on that already?
Brent, like I said, I like the Jaguares. I think I just looked at the Bulls side. I think they are absolutely paper thin. They're plugging in the gaps with Jean-Jacques Krier, who's 34, and Andries Ferreira, who also I think he's about 34. Josh Strauss must be also in and around 34, 35. Look, they got guys like Mark and starting to come back, but no, I don't like the side. The Lions. I was quite surprised. I think they've plugged the gaps quite well, but it's going to be very difficult to replace guys like Malcolm Marks. I see Lionel Mapu has left. They've lost a lot of guys to Japanese rugby, so it is quite tough. But I still I've got the Sharks jersey on. I'm a Sharks supporter, but I don't know if I'm really going to be pumping the Sharks. I hope they play well, and I don't want to offend Han, but I hope Cohen goes well this year. But no, like I said, I can't look past the Jaguares. I'm hoping they do the business.
Right, excellent. Well, we got our 2 new guests that have joined us now, and I think that brings us to the end of the Super Rugby conversation. First-time guest. On Twitter, it's Son of a Punt. On the Good for the Game forum, it's Long Live Punt. Guys, welcome to the show. And first time we've ever had 2 guys in one camera. Give us an introduction.
How's it, Brent? Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Jordan, and this is Andrew, and we are Son of a Punt, or Punts, as we like to call ourselves. We're 2 university students, and we really enjoy our rugby, and we really enjoy our betting. So we thought we'd start a tipster page, and that's kind of how we got Son of a Punt started. And that's our story.
Oh, the varsity. I mean, I wish sports betting was legal in South Africa when I was at varsity. That gives you a sign of my age. Lovely. Well, welcome to the show. And sorry, just to confirm, Springbok jersey, that is?
Yes, this is the only Springbok jersey I could get my hands on in Barcelona before the World Cup final. It's not exactly an original, but it is a Springbok jersey. It does the job.
Excellent. Well, what we're going to talk to you guys about tonight is the Champions Cup. So you've probably seen Brendan Wessels on Twitter as well. He's up in the top of the screen there, and he's always going to be talking about it. He gets heavily involved in his Champions Cup. I've seen your guys post on Twitter, so I know you're involved in the European rugby as well. So let's get straight into that. We've got an interesting weekend ahead, and I'll stay with you guys now. I mean, this is the final week of group action. So, I mean, we're already pretty much, I think all 5 groups are actually decided in terms of who's going to win. But we've still got plenty of permutations about who's going to get a home quarterfinal, who's potentially get a home country semi-final, if I'm understanding things correctly. Yeah. And other teams who've got nothing to play for, and Mayfield week aside. So this really is if I could call it a tricky week for punters, but perhaps at the same time, a week of great opportunity for punters.
Yeah, I think you're completely right there. It makes it quite difficult at the beginning of the week when you're not too sure what type of squads the teams are going to release come match day. But again, it allows you to speculate on that. And we've had a bit of luck with the Heineken Cup over the last couple of weeks. So hopefully we can take that into this weekend as well.
But there's definitely also a lot of value because you know exactly what the teams need. So the team's targeting a bonus point. and when they're going to send out a strong team and what they're going to go after. So just knowing and actually being able to bet on what the players want to do as well helps quite a lot.
That's it. I mean, Brendon, you'd obviously agree on that. I know you've been looking in the week at various scenarios. The other thing, Brendon, here is that you do have some situations. I see the groups all end, if I'm not mistaken, the groups themselves, it's like a soccer World Cup. The final games are all played at the same time. But there are some teams that obviously get to see what's happening in other groups. Because this is a very strange setup in that, yes, the top the top 5 go through from the groups, but then the 3 best sort of second place sides go through. So you could be watching another group, and that could change. For example, a team playing late on could already know they can't qualify, or they could. So, Brendon, it's going to be very interesting to see how this weekend plays out.
Yeah, Brent, I think that, that's something that must definitely be taken into account. As like you say, when in football they normally play at exactly the same time, so that you can't really adjust to you can't really see what's happened in the other game. You can maybe see what's happened at half time, but you'll pretty much play your best or worst or whatever the case may be, depending on where you need to finish. But like you say, the guys playing at say 7:30 on Saturday night may really be out or know what they need to do. Luckily I've taken a bit of Northampton Saints, and they first up at 3:00 on Saturday. So hopefully they won't have anything that's going to distract them. They're going to go out full guns to try and win there. So it's, as you say, it's a lot of things to factor in terms of motivation. You don't want to be betting on a team on a Sunday that may potentially be out. I mean, I don't know how much they're going to give it if they know they can't qualify playing away.
Well, let's start with you then, and let's talk about the first 2 games, and then we'll go to the other guys who I happen to know agree with you, if I remember one of their tweets on the Saints. Now, the Saints handicap, Brendon, I think has moved a bit. I think there was some -3.5 early in the week, so good luck to the guys who obviously got onto that. But we're still sitting at -5.5. They are away to Lyon, who really, I guess, have nothing to play for you. That's my understanding of it. Do you still think they're a play at 5.5?
Yeah, Brent, I like that. I like Chris Boyd as a coach. I think he's really turned Northampton around with their style of play. It's with the Reinach and Bigger combination. They've really been playing good rugby. They got beaten badly by Leinster in their Champions Cup, which not ideal. Lyon were still quite plucky last week with a second string side away to Leinster. But I've got a feeling Lyon will still play a second string side. They've got Toulon at home next week, and top 14 is their major focus. They're sitting second in top 14, and I don't see them really gonna try and beat Northampton with a first string side if they've got Toulon, who are playing incredible rugby next week. So I'm happy with that -5.5 to cover there. I like the Lucio Ludlam Laws from Northampton. Yeah, really, really good backline, and they play exciting rugby. So I'm backing that -5.5.
Let's go to the other game in that group, Benetton up against Leinster. Here we got a handicap of 18.5. Leinster are, of course, the favourites here. Now, Leinster are top of the log, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, a bonus point win will pretty much seal top spot for them. But I guess they don't have to do much more than that. Is this a tricky handicap? Is this one you're getting involved in?
No, Brent, I'm going to stay away from this one. And the reason I say, if I look at the results between Leinster and Benetton, especially in Italy, sometimes it's been, fairly close results, but those are Pro 14. So, once again, what is the motivation for Benetton to play their first stringers now? And also with the Six Nations just on the cusp. Are they really going to risk, the internationals? Because basically Benetton comprises a lot of the Italian internationals. So, are they really going to risk them against Leinster? I think what one of the guys, the betting Stig, said he's going to take some -11.5. I'd probably take a -11.5 in a multi, but I probably wouldn't be brave enough to take 17.5. If I have a couple of whiskies on Saturday, probably might get tucked in there.
Excellent. Well, you mentioned the betting Stig. He posts his picks. He uses an algorithm. Believe it or not, the guy doesn't watch rugby at all, which I find quite amazing. So you can go onto the Good for the Game forum and find that. I'm going to bring Son of a Punt in now, guys. But just quickly, before you give us your view on the first 2 games, on the Saints game and the Leinster game. There's 2 of you. I never realized that until today. I always assumed it was one person behind the account. What happens before you post a bet? Do you guys both have to be aligned on it? I mean, you must have situations where one likes a plus and one likes a minus. Do you just not tweet it then?
Yeah, in those cases, we often wouldn't tweet it, and the one would just get on it, and I guess it'll just be pride between the 2 of us. But we normally, I let all his cricket bets stand as well. I'll let him tweet those whether they win or lose. But yeah, otherwise, we just have to have some sort of consensus, and then we'll both be aboard.
Excellent. Well, am I right in saying you guys tweeted, I think I saw Saints minus 3.5 when the betting came out. You're on the Saints as well. You're in agreement with Brendon there?
Just, I wish it was the minus 3.5. Unfortunately, I think we got minus 5. Even
so you got it at the current sort of line, huh?
Yeah,
but anyway, minus 5.5. You guys are on there, huh?
Yeah, but we're pretty happy with that. Saints have been immense in the last couple of games. Kubus Reinach at 9 is commanding the show. He's got serious pace. I think it's going to be work advantage there. Also, Naivoro on the wing. It takes about 7 of them to tackle him, and he can just offload it to one of those inside centers and they're under the pole. So 4.5 is good, 5.5 is good, but I think we're on the 6.5, which I still think is pretty good. The Saints currently sit on 14 points in the log, so they know a win sets them in good chance, but they'll probably even be after a bonus point win, just because their points difference is so shocking compared to Gloucester's and Saracens. So they could even be going and targeting quite a big win there. So I think if the 4.5 comes through, then the 6.5 will come through as well.
Excellent. Yeah, I've got that feeling as well. I think if they're going to win this one, they're ultimately going to win it comfortably. So I'd be more than happy to take sort of minus 5.5 there. Shane, one of our overseas viewers, saying Benetton plus 19 is the way. Much improved side, and I have to agree with him there. They're not necessarily the rollovers they were of past seasons. You got anything on this game, guys?
Yeah, we took the minus 18.5 early in the week because we, as Brendon said, we thought they weren't going to risk Italian internationals, and the Irish coach Leo Cullen, or the Leinster coach, said they're going to send over a strong team to finish the job. So we thought a Leinster first team versus a Benetton second team, 18.5 looked good. However, recent team news, I saw Benetton are actually going to play a couple of the internationals. So I think the cap sets the match pretty evenly at the moment, but we on it, so we're going to play it out.
Well, Hanrick Swart was on the show before talking Super Rugby. I will, while we're talking, just bring up some of his comments. He was on babysitting duty and had to run off, so we'll bring in some of those. But let me go now and have a look at the next set of group matches. So we've got Benetton Lens we've talked about Leon. So guys, I'll stay with you. Ulster against Bath. I see a big handicap here. Ulster minus 22.5 here. That's at World Sports Betting.
Yeah, that's a huge cap, I think. And the Bath coach has indicated that he wants to go out there and try and win this game. And Bath don't often lose by 23 plus. Although Ulster do need the win and potentially even a bonus point win to grab one of those higher finishing first positions. I do think that Bath are just, even though their results haven't been great, they're on the cusp of turning their luck. And yeah, I think the plus 23.5 it's just too high, and I think the plus has to be the play there.
Right, let's move on. We'll cover each group of games with each of you, and then I'll go on to Brendon. So that's that. I'm just on scanning down to the next game. Harlequins plus 12.5 against Clermont.
Harlequins plus 12 against Clermont. So Harlequins actually did me a bit dirty last week because I thought they were going to send a second string team to Bath. But they ended up sending a full-strength team, which included about 1,100 caps in the team. So it was a pretty strong team. And after a bit of research, I found out the reason they did this is because out of their 41 European squad, 20 are injured. So they don't actually have much choice but to play their first team. So it is going to be a first-team Quins against Clermont. And yeah, it's tough to call that one. Clermont obviously going to be going for as many points as possible to secure a home semi, or at least in the country. So it's tough to say. I'd probably be favouring the minus 12.5 in the hope that Quins make a few changes in the second half and Clermont run away with it.
Right, let's go up to Brendon and get his opinion on those two games. Start with this one then. Brendon, Harlequins, Clermont.
Brent, I'm massive on Clermont there. They tucked Bath away very tidily at the Rec. And that's not always easy to do. Like the Sons of Fun said, Harlequins got heaps of injuries. I think they picked up another 3 injuries after that Bath game. Their hooker got injured. He was their 4th choice hooker. I think they're missing 4 hookers and 5 centers. So, that's very difficult to replace. So, even if Clermont came with the second string side, they've got heaps of talent. They've got really exciting centres. They've got a big pack. I expect them to do the business there. If they're sitting on 22 points at the moment, if they pull off a win there, and they'll try. I think they'll probably try for a bonus point win, and they'll try and hope that Racing loses away to Saracens. And I think one or two of the top guys, they'll try and pass one or two of the top guys and grab a home quarter there. So I think there's a lot to play for Clermont. I like the way they play. They'll more than likely play Greg Laidlaw at 9. He suits English conditions with probably Para at 10. And there'll be some exciting players there. The guys they got like Pasela Yato that get crazy for Gian at 7. I mean, he's a demolisher. So I like Clermont there. He's my strongest bet for the weekend. I've got minus 11.5, but I'd still take minus 12.5.
Okay, excellent. And then on to Ulster against Ulster against Bath, 20 odd points handicap there.
Brent, I'll be quite honest, I'm staying away from that game in totality. I'm not even having something small on it, and I'll tell you why. It's Ulster have been playing very good rugby. They really want the win. And like the guys said, Bath are going to send a strong team. They've got some really strong loose forwards. If they do play good rugby, they'll keep it tight. So it's tough. The way Ulster put Connacht away, I think 2-3 weeks ago, stuck in my mind in terms of how clinical they were. So this is a difficult game to call. So I'd rather stay out of it.
Right. Let's move on to the next group of games, and we'll stay with you. And looking at Exeter Chiefs, who currently top of their group, or they're going to top their group, and they're minus 27.5 against La Rochelle.
Oh, Brent, La Rochelle being a French team away. Who knows what can happen? Because when they drop their heads, geez, they leak points like a flippin' flood. So I don't know what to make of that handicap. I'll probably stay away there as well. It's a big handicap to me. But when Exeter get on the roll, those big forwards of theirs, I can see it by 35. So I'll probably end up taking something small on Exeter minus. There's no ways I'll put La Rochelle on a plus. A French team playing away who are basically out. And they need to start focusing on the top 14. So that'll be my Exeter on the minus there. Right.
And then the next game in that one is Sale plus 4.5 against Glasgow.
Yeah, so I mean, Glasgow played quite well last week against Exeter. I watched this. They didn't televise the game, I think. So I watched some of the highlights, and they really played some good rugby. I was very surprised where their second stringers put a first string Benetton side to the sword in Italy. So and I saw Dave Rennie. He said, "Look, they're going to give it everything at Sale." I can't really see. I hope so. Oh, look, I've taken Glasgow with anticipation that Sale won't play their first team because like you said, Brent. And like the guys said as well, I've placed some bets on Euro Rugby. We don't know where the teams are going to land, and you sort of hope they're going to land in your favour. And if they don't land in your favour, you're going to have to scramble to try and hedge or to try and cash out somewhere. But my hope is that. Glasgow will rock up there. They've got some good Scottish players. Hopefully you'll stick up their hand and play some good rugby and tuck Sale away.
Right, let's go down to son of a punt there. Hanrick Swart just asking in the comments, and I actually was going to ask you at some point as well. Where are you guys based?
We're based in Barcelona in Spain. We're currently doing our masters there. So we're holding up the fort in the Northern Hemisphere.
Oh, well, okay. Well, that explains your interest in the Northern Hemisphere as well. We can't explain the guy above there who sits in Pretoria, but anyway. But which university are you at there doing the masters?
We're at a business school called SAD Business School.
Okay, right. Well, interesting. Majoring in sports betting. Then. Guys, let's get you onto this group games. Exeter handicap in the high 20s. Is this one to get involved in, or is this one where you say we won't be tweeting it?
I think we're probably not going to get involved in this handicap, but I know as the show is called the handicap, but sometimes we also like to look at points or try scorers.
Fair enough. Yes, go for it.
I do like Mr. Luke Cowan-Dickey here on the back of that Rolling Thunder. And in saying that, I just want to give a belated Happy New Year's to 3 of my favorite human beings on the planet, Joseph Dweber, Falau Fayinga, and Bongi Mbanambi. So you 3 gentlemen are special. Thank you for being who you are.
Well, I can tell you just before you go on, Couch Critic, who's Hein de Mont, he's a regular on our show. That guy loves nothing more than to back a hooker at the back of a rolling maul for first try and any time's try scorer. So he's totally with you guys. He's totally with you guys. I'm expecting him to pop up with a comment anytime second, because totally those guys have made a lot of punters like yourselves and him a lot of money. But back to the game there.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm quite interested in Luke Cowan-Dickey anytime, depending on what the odds are. But otherwise, I mean, same as the conductor here. I think Exeter could win it by 35, but you never know with this La Rochelle team away. I remember, I think they went to Sale with a B team and nearly pipped them earlier on in the season. So who knows? So we'll stay away from that one.
Excellent. Hanrick Swart saying Barcelona would have been my last guest. Sale up against Glasgow, guys. 4.5 points here. Glasgow favourites on the road.
Yeah, we with Brendon here. Dave Rennie said they're going for it. They need a bonus point win to have any hope of staying alive in this competition. So I think the -4.5 should come through here. Also, it's tough to predict what type of team Sale are going to send out. So it's worth getting on it now. If the B team comes out, then it's happy days. But even in saying that, Sale Sharks played their A team against La Rochelle last weekend, and I think they went down 30-21 or 30-23. So on the -4.5, if the A team comes out, then it'll be a good contest, but the -4.5 should come through.
Right, then I'll stay with you guys for the next group of matches, and it's a match that I've been eyeing out all week, I must tell you. Saracens -13.5 against Racing. I did see some 14.5 early in the week. Haven't shopped around, haven't really had the time. What do you make of this one? I'll tell you what I've seen. A lot of guys saying, Racing top of the group, that's secure and that they don't have that much to play for. I'm looking at this and going, Racing have got a lot to play for, because they could still effectively not get a home, quarterfinal, even if things go really badly for them. So I'm expecting them to come out great guns. I think Southpaw on the Good for the Game forum has gone Racing. I'd have to check that. But what do you guys make of this one?
Yeah, I saw Southpaw took it in a double, and to be honest, I agree. I've seen 15.5 even around the board, but Racing really could do well with that. That win would put them in real good shape, and even if they don't win, I mean, they've only lost one in their last 10 games, and I mean, they don't lose big. But in saying that, this Saracens A team, if it were to finally appear, is a scary sight. So, I mean, personally, I think the plus is the play, and I think we'll be taking a small plus, but maybe something in play, like if Saracens go 7-0 up or 10-0 up, then taking like a plus 20 or something along those lines, just for a bit of security.
Right, and the other game in that group then is Munster against Ospreys, who must be the worst team in the competition, I would say perhaps even by some distance. Munster -26.5.
Yeah, I saw the -26.5, and I have to agree with you. Ospreys have been shocking. They lost to a Saracens B team with a red card last weekend. But in saying that, I actually fancy the Ospreys plus 26.5 here. Welsh internationals are returning or finding feet. Munster don't have much to play for. Obviously, a bonus point win keeps them alive in this competition, but it's a very, very slim hopes to live on by. Once again, this is the stage you're talking about earlier. At this stage, they'll know what's happened earlier, and they'll know exactly what they need to do. So if it comes to the fact that they need a bonus point win absolutely to get them to the qualification, then I'll be on that -25.5. But as it stands, I'm probably going to take the plus.
So one of those games, where you do want to keep a close eye on other results, because the betting could actually shift dramatically depending on perhaps on what they need to do. Let's go up to Brendon now and get his opinion on the Saracens game. Brendon, I know you were, am I right in saying you were bullish on Saracens early in the week, or were you in the racing camp?
Yeah, Brent, after that Racing, because luckily I cleaned up on that Racing versus Munster game, so I was good on that. And I thought after that game, what I'm going to do is switch immediately to Saris. But I think this is a game I'm definitely going to wait for the team sheets to come out. Saracens are sitting at 11, and like we said, it's a bit of a conundrum, because are they going to play a first string side? Because by the time they kick off on Sunday, they'll probably be out of the comp already. But where I'm going there, I'm going Racing on the plus there. I rate Saracens highly. I think they were or are one of the best teams in Europe, just with their defence. But I agree with you, Brent. I think I've changed my mind a little bit. I think Racing will want to get something out of the game just to try and get a better seeding in their quarterfinals. So I think they did play very well against Munster. So yeah, I'm backing them to do a little bit against Saracens, and I can't really see Saracens playing their first string side if they really feel that their chances of qualifying are very slim.
Yeah, and also the fact that they know they got to win. Of course, we know what they've got ahead of them in the Premiership as well. I'm going to give you the other game now, but to say that I actually like Rusting here, and I'm even thinking of Rusting on the board at around the 9-2 mark. I do fancy them on the handicap as one of my better bets of the weekend in the Champions Cup. Munster against Ospreys, Conductor. I don't know. There could be a few different variations around, but I see here 26.5.
Yeah, Brent, it's a big cap, eh? Yeah, I thought with Alan Wynne-Jones coming back for the Ospreys, I thought he'd sort of be Captain America for them and really sort of pull up the sock, etc. But they were just absolutely shocking against a really, like the guy said, a Saracens B side who at one stage were down to 13 men. It honestly looked like Ospreys had assembled their team at some like a BP garage 5 minutes before the game and sort of pulled on a jump because they were so shocking. I mean, they like missed kicks and they couldn't do a backline move, and it was shocking. But that being said, I saw an interesting stat. I think it said about 75% of Munster's points came off the kicking tee, which means they're not running the ball as well as they should. They've got heaps of quality. I wouldn't be surprised if they play a first team there to try and get the fans down in Munster fired up. They could cover it, but I'm not super confident. I'll take something small in Munster. Just keep me interested. But it's a big cap for Munster, who don't seem to be scoring heaps of points.
Right, let's pop across to the other guys for the final group. Toulouse against Gloucester, minus 15.5 points here, guys.
Yeah, again, this is one of these games that really depends on the previous results, because for Gloucester, they're one of those teams that could finish a bare second, and they could really be out of it by the time this game kicks off, or they could really be in with a fight. So it depends, and I would say Toulouse also need the win. So it's a tough one to call, and it's one that I would really say it's probably better to make a judgment, come after Saturday afternoon's games. It's probably the right thing to do.
Yeah, so just to add on to that, so Gloucester, I think, sitting on 14 points, the tournament's still in their hands. So if they win, they're guaranteed to go through to the next stages no matter what, unless the Saints beat Lyon by a massive margin. So Gloucester, they're always going to have huge intent there. The only thing is with Toulouse, if Racing lose, then they're going to be targeting a big win so they secure one of the home semi-finals. So that's kind of what it depends on the Saracens Racing game there.
But just quickly to stop you there, that's pretty big. Then, if I'm reading it correctly, then assuming assuming Racing can beat Saracens, then let's assume the other teams all win their game. Then strictly speaking, then the home team here would have nothing really to play for.
Yeah. So
I mean, they'd be guaranteed of the top of their group, but they know they can't make a home quarter. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay, that's an interesting one, because definitely worth watching, and certainly if Racing do pull something out against Saracens, we could expect the Gloucester line to move quite a lot. Sorry, back to you. I just wanted to check on that.
Also, I looked at conditions, and there is a bit of rain predicted, and we know that Gloucester like to run the ball from 5 meters past their dead ball line. So with a bit of rain, Gloucester, it's a bit tough to take the plus, but as we said, just going to wait till the morning of and see what's happened in the competition and take a play from there.
Well, if you watched the GG Gaming Gone Mad show earlier, Gary Lenton from GG Gaming was full of praise for Hanrick Swart. And Hanrick, he does tend to be a coaches and a referee man. And he says there in the comments, Gloucester's a team he likes opposing, not an Ackerman fan. Let's go on to the final game there in that group, and that's Montpellier up against Connacht, and Montpellier minus 12.5.
Yeah, dead rubber. I don't like Connacht personally, although they have got a few of their big guns back, like Kati and Bundiaki and whatnot. But for me, they're a really poor side. And traveling away to France, I mean, I don't think, will they send their best team? Will they not? I'm not sure. I personally am going to stay out of it. If I had to pick, I'd probably take the minus. Maybe Andrew has a different thought to me, but this is one that we both agreed that we weren't going to get involved in.
So this is actually one of the ones that aren't going to go on Twitter because they have a differentiating opinion here. Brendon's not going to like this. I think he's a Montpellier fan, if I remember correctly, but I'm all over the Connacht plus 12.5. Andy Friend said they want to finish off on a high, sending all the internationals there. I heard Bundiaki, Jack Cardi, a couple of the other guys as well. Montpellier don't have much to play for. I think it'll just be tit for tat. We'll finish it within 7 to 14 points either way. So I think the plus 12.5 has a bit of value there. Good luck.
Don't look out for a tweet. Just to mention a couple of guys in the comments, Matthew saying he enjoys your work, and Hanrick, I know I've seen comment on your tweets as well. So also enjoys the reasoning. I think that's something that we've always tried to do on Good for the Game. If you're going to give a bet, give some reasoning behind it. Even that way, even when the bet fails, you can at least say the reasoning. The reasoning was good. But it's nice to know that someone's put the work into the bet. And Brendon, we know you put plenty of work into your bets as well. As we said earlier, we're not sure how much work you put into your work. But what do you make of the last group of matches there? Toulouse against Gloucester?
Brent, sorry, man. I was trying to go back to that Sarries game. I misread. I don't know how I misread that table. Sarries is sitting on 14.
Yeah.
So definitely qualify here. Sorry, man. I thought I'm between Munster and Sarries. So I think that's what I'm going to do is I'm not going to put a bet down just yet. I'm going to wait for that team news, because if Sarries play their full contingent of England internationals, I'd actually back them to 13.5 is high. I'd maybe go at sort of minus 9.5, minus 8.5 at 5 to 10 there. I'd back them to get the job done against Racing if they play. But if they play the same team they played against Ospreys, all the way there. Okay. So sorry, the next game was Toulouse. Toulouse. That'd probably be my favorite team in Europe. Leinster are very clinical. Love Leinster, but Toulouse, their rugby is just absolute pornography. It's just dirty to watch at the best of time. So I mean, with a backline of Ramos at 15, Colby at 11, and Uge at 14, Peter Key at centre. I love the way they play. I think they'll probably play Intermuck at 10. Good pack of forwards. I've got them to cover that. I got minus 14. I just want to just check here. I got minus 14.5 earlier in the week, and I'm happy with that. Toulouse will want to win. I think Gloucester know that they really need results to go their way, if I'm correct, I think. And I really back Toulouse to do the job there. I like Hugo Mollo as a coach. The way he's got the guys to play, it's a fantastic style of rugby there.
Well, I must say to all the viewers out there, if you watched our analysis of the last couple of games, you must be confused as well, because we all seem to differ about everything. And I guess that is the beauty of this final weekend of action. But Brendon, close it off for us with Montpellier. I heard Andrew say there that he knows you're a bit of a Montpellier fan. Might be because Afrikaans is the official Montpellier language. Minus 12.5 this weekend.
Yeah, Brent, as I said, I bought the Montpellier jersey. I was very much a big fan when Jake was there. He made it a bit of a Saracen side in France kind of thing. He had all the Saffers there. There's even more Saffers there now with Hanrick and Johan and Francois and Kobus, and it's really going to be Afrikaans first team language there. They're going to have to get interpreters just to interpret back from Afrikaans to French. But as the guys said there, it's really a super dead rubber. I'd actually follow them on the plus there. Montpellier haven't been playing.
Not them, him.
This is where we got it.
Yeah, I thought Montpellier was super poor last week. Albeit they sent a second string side. I thought they were just very poor. I haven't enjoyed the rugby of late. Just something just doesn't look right there. So I like Connacht. Connacht are quite plucky. And hopefully they play guys like Bundiaki and Jack Carty, who should lift their performance. And I back them on the plus there.
Excellent. We're going to come to best bets now. Just a shout out to Chris. We do go live not only on YouTube but on Facebook as well. So that's very much in its infancy still. But Chris, who's a big horse racing man and based, I think, in Zambia, if I'm not mistaken, he's shouting out there Brent and the Blues. And those that have been following me over the years will know that I've got two blind spots in life, France and the Blues. And on that note, I'm going to be putting money on France, a small amount of money on France, I think every week for the next 4 years leading up to the 2023 World Cup. So, Chris, good to have you watching on the show, and we'll hopefully grow the Facebook following as well, guys. That does bring us to the end. It was a nice show. I'm certainly quite excited for the Champions Cup games this weekend. Brendon, I'm going to start with you. Just summarize your best bet or couple of bets for the weekend.
Brent, like I said, in terms of Champions Cup, I like Lemon. I was quite impressed with the way they blew Bath away from home. I don't normally like backing French teams away from home unless they are Clement to lose. So I like Clement there at -11.5. And a bet that you may want to have a look at, it's Challenge Cup, and Challenge Cup is always a bit naughty to sort of play around with because it's a bit sort of lower league. But I very much like Dragons -41.5 against NSI.
Jeez.
I know. NSI get beaten like a ginger-headed stepchild every week, so I can't expect much difference this week. If you go and look at the average, I think they probably take at least 30 every week. I think Worcester put 60 past them. So Dragons need the points here to try and qualify for a quarterfinal in the Challenge Cup. And I looked at their side. I think they're pretty much playing their first string side against NSI, and like I said, they are pretty poor. So when the tries come in, I watched Worcester against NSI last week, and there's just literally no defense. So I quite like those. Those are two of my bigger bets.
Right, okay, so that's an interesting game that I must be honest, I haven't studied up on that one at all. Son of a Punt, first of all, thanks, guys. It's been a great first show, and we'll certainly have you on in the future if you're keen to come on, and if you can drag yourself away from your studies, which I clearly see you don't spend a lot of time on. What are your best bets then for the weekend?
Great. I think we have to start with the Saints. I've actually got my Naivoro Saints jersey on its way to Barcelona. Some say I look like him. It's my player likeness at the moment as well. So Saints -4.5 has to be up there. I think they're going to absolutely clean up. I'm looking forward to Naivoro running over some of those French Lyon players. So that has to be my bet of the weekend.
Excellent. Oh, sorry, carry on. I was just going to Hanrick commenting on the Six Nations in the chat. Yes?
No, sorry. And just to follow the conductor there, I stumbled upon this Russian NSC side once upon a time, a good 5 months ago, and got on some Worcester -20 away from home, and they ended up smashing these guys by about 50. And every time they play, I've now taken the minus against them. So I've got a feeling I could be following suit there. But yeah, I've got to obviously agree with Andy, seeing as we're a team here, the Saints minus, and it's probably the best bet. There are a few other decent bets, but we'll probably try save our liquid for next week's Hamilton Sevens. The
Hamilton Sevens is going to be good on. Well, what we'll probably do next week, we'll probably do a couple of separate shows because I think the Sevens always warrants a show on its own. And I know you guys have also sort of corresponded with Sean Nicholas, Rugger Bugger. And in fact, I see you guys are aligned on a lot of the bets with him, which is not a bad thing when it comes to Sevens because he's an incredibly sharp punter. We will be doing the show for the Hamilton Sevens, and we'll talk about the new structure and all of that sort of stuff as well. But guys, thanks very much. Barcelona on a Thursday night. What do you guys do now? Straight to bed, or do you go out to a pub somewhere?
Well, if my dad's watching, straight to bed. But for everyone else, we'll be going out.
Excellent. Great, guys. Thanks very much. It was great having you on the show. And conductor, good having you. It was interesting to have you on the Earl Grey tea instead of the beer. Your stamina actually lasted a lot longer through the show.
Don't say that, Brent. My girlfriend just walked into the house, so don't say that. But no, thanks for the show, Brent. And nice to meet you guys. And hopefully we can have you on. Be good to chat with you guys a bit further down the line.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone. A good week of punting. I did put up a banner earlier. If you aren't subscribed yet, a link to the free Good for the Game newsletter. That'll come out tomorrow morning. We are going to have a little betting voucher competition from gggaming.bet there as well. So if you're not subscribed, do get involved there. Thanks to all the guys in the live chat. Always good to have your input. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do so now down below. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you next week.